This is the Retirement Solution Podcast with financial advisor Jon Hicks, founder of J. Hagan Capital.
And we're glad to have you starting your day off with us here on the Retirement Solution with Jon Hicks, financial advisor, founder of J. Hagan Capital. I'm Heather Branch here asking Jon questions about what he wants you to know about, things he wants you to be thinking about, and especially strategies, ideas, what you can be working on as far as how to better prepare for this next phase of your financial life. Because after decades working and saving, now we got to make those savings work for you. And that is the big question mark for so many folks, Jon. These are smart, hardworking, salt of the earth type people. They've saved $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, and they're standing at retirement's doorstep going, okay, I've got my nest egg. The paycheck is stopping. How in the heck am I supposed to pay myself now?
Right. They're kind of like, what's next?
Yeah.
I've done everything they told me to do.
Yeah.
I checked this box. I made sure my accountant knew what was going on. I checked with HR and I know what the paperwork looks like. But how do I turn this big old pile of money into a lifestyle, into things that I'd like to do, into fun vacations and or establishing a new garden or building a new pole barn? That's what life is about. It's not about that big old pile of money. We just need that money to do things that we need it to do for us.
So that we can live the life we want to live and do the things you were just pointing out. Speaking of hobbies and vacations and such, golfing, I don't know if you'd consider that a hobby or an anger-inducing activity, or
well, as Mark Twain called it, it's a good walk spoiled, right? Which is, I think, very, very honest. I don't know why people do it. I mean, it's like getting up every morning and being punched right in the face and still wanting to get up every morning. Every time I play golf, it's like, it's horrible.
Like people love to hate it is what I have figured out about golf. For the most part, people just love hating it. I guess
it's because when you're out there, at least you're among, beautiful nature. It's usually perfectly manicured and it's nice. So when you're, yelling profanities or stubbing your toe because you kick the tree trunk next to you, at least it's kind of like, well, at least I'm out in, nature's miracle. Yeah. Or whatever.
Right. One of our America's favorite sons and our favorite celebrities, Bill Murray, is of course known for many different things in life. Of course, his acting skills, the character actors that we've seen him play over the years, but also a major golfer. Was he a golfer before Caddyshack? Did Caddyshack catapult him into being a golfer?
No. So we had this conversation. I played golf with him last year.
I had the opportunity. These charity tournaments every year. Yeah.
Yeah. So I played 18 holes with Bill Murray and one of his younger sons and his nephew. And it's amazing, I guess he's 78, maybe closer to 80 now.
Yeah.
He has a really pretty golf swing.
Yeah.
He really does.
Right.
And he'll tell you straight up, he goes, good golfers don't hate bad golfers. They hate slow golfers.
Right.
So when you play with them, the one thing you got to understand is you got to keep up the pace. It doesn't matter if you're playing terrible, just have fun.
That's it.
And get out there. But he has a really pretty swing.
He knows how to have a good time.
Well.
He didn't? Well, because
not the day that we played. Now I understand that he has really good days and really good shots.
As everybody does on the golf course. On the
particular day we played, I don't think I was any better, but he did not score real well. It just goes that way, right?
Well, we had the chance to meet with Bill again at this year's Caddyshack charity golf tournament that he and his brothers put on every year. And part of the conversation actually veered away from golfing and acting. Bill Murray was talking about how he's a lifelong Chicago Cubs fan. And when he was growing up in the 1950s, what it meant watching the team on black and white TV. Remember the days, kids? Black and white TVs and rabbit ears. That's how he first started watching out the Cubbies. And so in this conversation, he was talking about what the feeling was when he finally visited Wrigley Field as a young boy and how it just absolutely blew his mind. Here's his recount of the time he first saw Wrigley Field.
We got to the ballpark and we started to walk up the stairs to the interior of the ballpark, and my brother said, wait. And he put his hands over my eyes and he said, okay, walk up. And I walked up the last few steps and he took my hands away and I saw all this green and all this ivy and the scoreboard and the grass. And it's unforgettable. What it looks like is I'd never seen it in color. It was like seeing an amazing impressionist painting. My God, look what it does to me. It really was an amazing experience.
He actually got teared up when he was talking about it. Because if you think about it, you've seen something on a little black and white TV, and then you go and you see it in color for the first time, what it had, the emotional effect it has on you.
And that's the whole point, right? So most people, when they're thinking through that, that is what we all want retirement to be like. When we know, it's like we already, like he grew up as a kid watching it a certain way, black and white TV on a little Zenith is what he said.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden when he saw it, he's like, the grass was so green, the sky was so blue. It was an amazing experience. That is the whole point about getting the retirement plan right, so that when we get that opportunity, so we're planning and all this kind of stuff, it's like watching it in black and white. But when we get there that day and they open up the field for us in retirement, say, hey, you've just punched your last time clock. You're done now. We want that same experience. Oh my gosh, the sky is so blue. The grass is so green. That car is so paid off. My next vacation is already scheduled 6 weeks from the time that you walk out the door. That's what we want.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing to think about, right? So when we think about life, so much of our life, and especially when in this show, we're talking about our retirement life, so much of it is about the feeling, the emotion, what it does to us. How does it make us feel? And that is so different than how people plan for it. When they're saying, well, I need to put, 20% into the growth bucket and 10% into the income bucket and 10% more into the pay stuff off bucket. It's all black and white. It's almost like it's all a spreadsheet, and that's not how we live it.
Right.
So when we're talking to people in the office for the very first time, that's what we're trying to figure out. Hey, I know sometimes that idea of retirement, it actually may be a little bit fuzzy. Probably the same way that Bill watched those Cubs games, just a little fuzzy, black and white, with the rabbit ears or whatever he had.
Yeah.
That's how most people think it. And a great advisor's job is kind of like his dad taking him to that ballpark. Let's see it with clarity. Let's see it in vivid color. What can it look like? That's amazing because especially because he was born in the 50s and he was a fan through 1962 when he actually went there in the park that time. He had a whole bunch of years of terrible, horrible Chicago baseball for a long time.
He stuck with it though, didn't he?
He did, amazingly enough. So on paper, they were horrible. But if he remembers, man, I remember the very first time I saw Wrigley Field. I remember walking in Wrigleyville, walking right up to it and going in, and here's what I saw. That's that feeling, right? Because in retirement, we're going to have good years. We're going to have good months. We're going to have bad years, sadly, in the market, and bad months. But does that change how we retire or stay retired? No, not with a good plan. Not with a good plan at all. So those are the things. Even though it's an emotion, we want to quantify that. How can we be certain, or how can we be more sure that that's the image that we're looking for, right? Imagine if it was the very first time, even though he's a lifelong Cubs fan, if that experience was at Fenway Park, which is the Boston Red Sox, would he be as excited? No, it's because it was something he was passionate about. His dream, his team, just like us, retirement, it's our vision, our dream. And we just want to make sure we get it in vivid, what do they call it? Technicolor? Let's get it colored with Technicolor, right? That's the objective.
Yeah. Well, Jon and his team, obviously, this is what they want for you. They want to see your plan in color with a full, wide-eyed perspective of the direction that you are headed, the options that you have in front of you. It is so much more than just numbers on paper. And Jon and his team, they're helping folks retire every single day. So perhaps nobody better understands that concept than the team at J. Hagan Capital. They are here for you. 502-317-0840 is our number. You can give us a call to set some time on the calendar. We're also at retirementsolutionradio.com, or it's 502-317-0840. Talk about folks that you have worked with and you have helped, and to put this plan into the color vision in front of them. Because as I was just saying, it's so much more than numbers, the lives we want to live. Have you ever had somebody that comes to you? I love these people that have the dream. They're like, we want to go to see every Major League Baseball park or every NFL stadium. We want to go see a game in every stadium over the course of the next 5 or 10 years. And helping folks achieve things like that in their retirement, because this is what their new life is and what they want of it.
The amazing thing, I was thinking the other day about Tom, and this is a caricature of someone I remember sitting down with years ago.
Yeah.
But the idea is that some people, once they see how vivid it is, they never want to go back. So I remember sitting down with Tom. He was 63. He was getting ready to retire from being a school teacher. And he always said, he had 3 grandkids, 3 boys. And he was just like, I just keep telling my wife, I want to take them to Cooperstown. I want to take them to go see the Hall of Fame, because they all love baseball, T-ball, whatever their thing was. Yeah. He's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Every year went by and he didn't do it. And it's one of the things we talked about in the office is that, Jon, I just don't know if I can retire. Here's what I want to do. And here's the things. Once we sat down and understood, all we needed to understand was where he was today, what he wanted to accomplish, and what he thought, the bare minimum would look like, but then what could he dream on? And I will never forget the look on his face. Tom basically looked at me and he said, there's no way. I'm like, oh, what does he think? Is this good or is this bad? He finally saw with crystal clarity all those vivid colors. He's like, so you're telling me not only can I take the grandkids to Cooperstown, I could maybe take the whole family, and then the following year do another pseudo nice trip. And then I was like, yeah, we had actually built into the plan, at least the way that we were starting about it, $15,000 to $20,000 a year of a vacation budget on top of the fact that we knew that we could get him retired, keep him retired at the standard of living he wanted at. And it was his face. He was just like, you've already built that in. And the answer was, yes, sir, we have. It was like he saw a Wrigley Field for the first time with the vivid green grass and the blue skies on the most magical day. He got it. He's like, oh my gosh, I wish I'd done this sooner. And the thing of it is there is no wrong time to plan as long as you do it, right? It's never the wrong time to do the right thing. So don't think it's too late in the game for you.
Right.
What we want to do is just to make sure that vague, fuzzy idea that you're trying to go toward, let's just make it clear. Let's just make it clear and make sure it's legible and make sure it's what you want. Because most people, once they see that opportunity, we're like, oh my gosh, I can do that and that and that. It's like, absolutely. Now we don't have to be fearful. Now we can go attack retirement with that vigor, that fervor that we want. That young kid seeing something awesome for the first time or waking up on Christmas Day, that's that feeling. That's an emotion that getting a good, solid plan that accomplishes all the things we need to talk about, getting it all done long before you retire. Great plan.
So many of us, we know how much we have saved. We know what we want out of retirement. What we don't have or what we don't know is how to connect those dots. And this is what Jon and his team, they are helping folks with every single day, and they are here to help you with as well. So give us a call right now. Let's schedule a time on the calendar for you to start this conversation with Jon and his team at J. Hagan Capital. The number to dial, 502-317-0840, 502-317-0840. Call us right now. We're going to help you set a time on the calendar to start the conversation with Jon and his team about building out a plan so that you know how your nest egg is going to help you live out the life you want to live, do the things that you want to do in your retirement. 502-317-0840. If you're over 59 and have saved at least $500,000, that's where you're really going to see the power of the kind of planning Jon and his team do take effect. And they want to show you what your options are. They want to help you bring your plan, your money, your nest egg to color for the years ahead. So let's get to work. Give us a call, 502-317-0840. You can also go to retirementsolutionradio.com or it's 502-317-0840. The first year of your retirement can make or break your plan, all due to this one risk factor that tragically, Jon, not a lot of people know about.
Yeah.
But it can have this much effect on your future. So we feel that you should know about it, which is why we're going to break it down here. We're going to tell the story of two brothers. Lean in, everybody. Gather around, kids. There's an article on Kiplinger.com that was talking about the danger of the stock market turning sour in that first year that you retire. And in it, this story, they followed these two brothers, Sam and Dave. Both had saved $500,000 at retirement with the plan. They're going to take $30,000 each a year out of their $500,000 in retirement to live off of. Okay. So brother Sam, he retired in the year 2000. Brother Dave retired in 2010. After 10 years, Dave had $874,000, so $374,000 more than where he'd started with.
Okay.
Sam only had $96,000.
Ooh, started with $500,000. Ooh.
He went through the huge market declines of the year 2000 and the year 2008. Dave, his brother, did not.
Sure.
So, of course, I mean, when it comes to market timing, we always say you never time the market. You just can't.
Right.
And Sam certainly was unlucky in those 2 years and with that factor on his plan. But what do we need to know about this risk, this sequence of returns risk that not enough of us know about, and what can we do to help minimize it on our own savings?
Yeah. So unfortunately, sequence of returns. I mean, there have been tons of really smart Nobel Prize winners talk about this, from William Sharp to Thaler did it. Even Jack Bogle, who founded Vanguard, talked about this all the time. He's like, there's this dirty little secret that no one really talks about, because people in the financial industry, they can't do anything about it because no one knows.
Right.
And what is that secret? No one knows if they're retiring at a good time or retiring at a bad time. And think about this. So let's go back to this example of these two brothers. One of them retired right after the huge run up, right? We had Reagan, and then we had Bush, and then we had Clinton, and the market was going through the roof all the way up to 1999. It was the highest that the market had ever been. And so someone getting ready to retire in 1997 and 98, getting ready for it in 1999, let's go. They're sitting on top of the biggest mountain of money than they ever, thought they'd have. And then all of a sudden they retire. And then what happened to that brother? So Sam retired in 2000, only unfortunately to be met with that huge Mike Tyson punch in the face of the year 2000 when the dot-com bust, started happening. But it wasn't just 2000. And so in this example, Sam, he still was pulling money out to live off of.
Right.
But the market was going down. He was pulling money out as it was going down. It happened for 2000, 2001, and 2002. It happened again in 2008. So that $500,000, unfortunately, at the end of that period of time, was only worth $70-something thousand. Unbelievable. Now, had he had any idea that was going to happen? No. No one knew the dot-com bust was going to happen. No one knew that 2008 we were going to have the Great Recession. No one saw it. His advisor didn't know that. No one knew that. But in that example, that is the sequence of return risk, that the year that we retire is a bad sequence of the returns that we're going to experience. And unfortunately, we see it all the time. And there's no way of knowing what the market's going to do, which is why it's so important to understand predictions don't matter. Preparation does, because he just had the 2 or 3 different strategies that we utilize for our clients to help avoid or at least minimize that risk. He would have been in a completely different zone, because his brother Dave had the same 500,000, pulled out the same amount of money. He just didn't retire in a bad situation. And no one knew. No one can predict. No one knows what the president's going to do. No one knows what Congress is going to do. No one knows what geopolitical events are going to happen. No one knows what tax rates or interest rates. No one can control all those things. And if you think about how long retirement lasts, it's not just 5 to 10 years. Hopefully it's 20 to 30 years, maybe 35 years for some people. So there's probably going to be a lot of ups and downs over that period of time. So we have to protect ourselves from this. So the luck factor is what we can avoid. All right. And here's how we do that. To avoid the luck factor, we have to understand that we need 3 buckets of money that we're going into retirement with. Number 1, we need our now money that we cannot afford to lose because we're going to need it. We're going to need it this year or next year. 2 years worth of income. That's bucket number 1, the now bucket. Now, this bucket, on top of just housing safe money, we need it liquid and available. So in the event that something wrong happens, like we have an electrical storm. I had a storm and actually hit my house, it hit one of the lightning rods. We had a very small but lightning shot that hit our house. And unfortunately, it fried a lot of things in our home. We had no idea that was going to happen. So the thing about that now bucket is we need it liquid and we need it safe, because we need to know that we can deal with 1 to maybe even up to 3 years worth of bad markets without ever worrying about running out of money or without ever worrying about needing more income, right? Okay. So that's the now bucket. Mm-hmm. We have 2 other buckets. The one in the middle, we call the soon bucket. We also call it the income bucket. This is the bucket that is built to not grow so much. It's great if it does, but we really want safer style investments or less volatile investments that are built to give us income. Historically, this is where a lot of traditional advisors would talk about bonds. Unfortunately, bonds have not been the world's greatest investment over the last 10 to 12 years. We'll see what happens in the future, but this is where we typically want lower correlated assets. We want not very volatile assets, and it's great if they can spin us off some income. So this is where I may even, in my mindset, be putting real estate in there. Like if you have rental properties, I would put those in there along with CDs, laddered bonds, things like that. You may use structured notes. You may use principal protected notes, something that has some downside protection, but can give you income that you can use to do what? Replenish that now bucket every year. Every year, we want to keep adding money to that. Hey, I might need this next year, so let's go ahead and get it over there where I can spend it, right? That's its job. Okay. Now, like we've all heard before, you cannot serve 2 masters, which is very true. We need that middle bucket, that soon bucket, that income bucket to do one thing well: create income. Growth is not really a factor as much as produce income so that we can live in retirement and not worry about things. Okay. So we have bucket 1 and bucket 2. Now the third bucket. Now this is the one that almost everyone focuses on, almost to the point where they fixate on it. And this essentially is the later bucket, because this is how we typically saved in our 401ks. We put money in and hopefully it grows. And hopefully we get our company to compound and give us more money on top of that. And it grows and grows. We always thought as we were growing our money, this is for later. This is for later. This is for retirement. This is later. When we get to retirement, later is now, which is why we have to have the now and soon buckets. But that bucket is really the growth bucket. The growth bucket is completely different. We really want to have assets in that growth bucket that, frankly, we still want to stay within our risk tolerance, but we're not so worried about the volatility. Why? Because this is the bucket we need in the long run to help offset inflation, healthcare costs, help us with some of our tax planning, be the money that's going to go probably to the next generation. In this bucket, we expect, hopefully, that it will grow and compound for the next 20 to 30 years of retirement. Now, because of that, because we have zero thought in our mind that we need to utilize that money for 15 to 20 years, we can handle a little bit more risk. But Heather, what we typically see is that people still treat all of them, all 3 of those buckets as, well, I still want it to grow, and I want it to give us income, and I want liquidity, and I want safety. And unfortunately, no one particular investment style can do that. And unfortunately, when we try to do that, jack of all trades, we become a master of none and we fail in retirement. So the greatest way to help avoid or eliminate the failures that we would have with a sequence of return risk is by understand simply, it's a bucket strategy. We just went 3 simple buckets, and we want to make sure mathematically that it's right for us. So everyone's retirement is going to be different than the next person. So that's why whenever we're talking to people, we want to find out, hey, what does your retirement look like? You know, how fuzzy is that image, or how clear is it? If you know exactly what you want, retirement planning should be a breeze. You'll love it because it's going to give you so much more flexibility and freedom than you've probably ever had before. Because then you can actually see, done correctly, this is how leveraging your savings, this is how leveraging your money can work best for you. Because we'll understand, how much do you need now? How much money income are you going to have? Hey, do we want a little extra? Do we want a slush bucket of $15,000 to $30,000 a year for extra vacations, or to rescreen the back porch, or to help the grandkids out with college or a car? That's the best thing, is that we know we can plan that, and we won't just be growing money until we're gone. That's the paradigm that we need to shift. That's what we need to change. It's not about growing the money. It's about harvesting the money now. We don't want it to grow anymore and then wither on the vine. We want to be able to use it to harvest it so that we can accomplish all those things that we're most excited about. So sequence of return risk is eliminated by most great planners by simply following the bucket strategy. If you don't have a bucket strategy, if you've never seen it happen firsthand, you should. Skilled fiduciary advisors should use this because it's really one of the greatest ways to not be product centered, is to be planning centered, right? It's not about predicting. It's about preparing. And so when you do the bucket system, it doesn't matter if we have a good market, a bad market, a bull market, a bear market. It really won't matter, because we know we're good for income. We're good for creating more income down the road, and we're good for growing assets. Done correctly, that's probably one of the greatest things that anyone can do to have a great retirement in the long run.
Quickly, before we wrap up, I just want to ask you the blunt question that you have answered throughout this conversation about getting back to the sequence of returns risk, because something else that we all know, the market usually recovers over time. So why can an early crash cause this kind of permanent damage?
Yeah, so Fidelity did a study on this, and they find out if you lose money in the 3 years preceding retirement or the first 3 years of retirement, 6 times more likely of running out of money. Think about that real quick. 6 times more likely. Why? Because even though the market rebounds, the money that you lost when you've pulled out to spend, it never is. It's gone. You've already spent it, so it's not there to rebound. That's the problem. Okay. So compounding interest does not work. If you've pulled out those dollars, it doesn't compound back. So that's why it's so devastating. Okay. So when you're looking at 2 portfolios, one that experienced a downturn in the beginning, the chances of you running out 600% more likely per Fidelity. That's kind of scary. So if we can develop a plan and stick with it that reduces that issue, that's a much better plan in general.
Well, if you are looking for a better plan, generally speaking, Give us a call. 502-317-0840 is the number to dial right now. 502-317-0840. We've got a teammate standing by off the air ready to answer your call and help you set a time on the calendar to start the conversation with Jon and his team about building a plan to help reduce your sequence of returns risk, as well as the many other risks that you might be facing and you're not even aware of. At J. Hagan Capital, they're here to show you what those areas might be and how you can add layers of protection to your precious nest egg. It's 502-317-0840. If you're 5 to 10 years from retirement and have saved at least $500,000 of investable assets, that's where you're really going to see the benefits of this kind of planning take effect. Jon and his team, they want to show you what your options are. So let's get to work. 502-317-0840. When it comes to your 401k contributions, should you be doing Roth? Should you be doing non-Roth or pre-tax, as the cool kids would say?
Is that what cool kids say these days?
I don't know what the cool kids are saying. I'm just trying to have
Hold on.
conversation.
The cool kids don't say anything. They text something. They tweet.
They're definitely not talking about
Did they even
Roth
call
or
it tweet?
pre-tax.
I don't even know what you call it. Because it sounds like if you
Messaging.
X someone. Oh, see, that sounds dirty or wrong and
Don't do that.
nefarious. See, so do people still say tweet? They do, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
so
they
you
call
don't
it Twitter
X someone.
too, because nobody calls it X.
Yeah.
We digress.
Because if you X'd your ex, see, I don't know. I don't even want to get into that any further. We're going down.
Stick to what you know, Jon. Stay in your lane.
I'm going to stick
hey,
with what I know.
nerd. Hey, not cool kid. Stay in your lane. Let's get back
Put
to
your
the
pocket protector
the
on and
401k
get back in
balances.
line, John boy.
401k contributions. As I was saying, should we put them in pre-tax or after tax? Why would we
Yes.
do one or the other or both? Because apparently that's what Vanguard wants us to do. So
Yes.
there are a lot of folks getting close to retirement. They're looking at their 401k balance. Things look pretty good. Maybe they've done it all one way or all the other. And as they get close to retirement, they think to themselves, I'm going to stop doing the tax-deferred contributions. I'm going to go all Roth or the other way around. Vanguard is saying that that's a mistake and that splitting our contributions between both can give us more income flexibility later, especially with unpredictable tax rates.
Yes.
Can you explain the who, what, where, when, and why behind this?
Yeah, I was a little surprised that Vanguard felt like they needed to put a piece out on this. But to be perfectly honest, it's because of the same marketing everyone's hearing out there. Everyone's saying, oh, tax rates are going to have to go up. So because of that, you should put all your money in the Roth. Now, in theory, that may be a smart thing in theory. But here's about in practice, and this is what Vanguard was trying to say. The one thing that we're going to want more of in retirement, because we're not potentially going to have tremendous extra time, right? Retirement is those time. We have hopefully a few really great years or maybe several really great years, but it's not like we have infinite time. We're not going to have infinite resources because we're stopping that job that honestly pays us.
Mm-hmm.
So the one thing that we can have a lot more of in retirement is flexibility. And that is exactly what Vanguard was talking about. What they were saying is, hey, the only way that everyone wins if you put all of your money on Roth is if tax rates actually go up. But we currently have the administration who's saying, hey, we're trying to reduce taxes.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to make them lower. Now, we have no idea if that's going to be able to be the case. In my personal opinion, I feel that tax rates are probably as low as they're going to go. And I mean, I think the tax rates are going to go up. But at no point do I think that everyone's money, all of it should be in one bucket, the tax-free bucket. I think that we should be thinking about, does the math work for us to get a lot of our money into a tax-free account? And I think that most people, the math is pretty overwhelming. Yes, we do want a fairly decent amount of money in Roth or tax-free accounts. Having said that, there are ways that we can exploit the tax code efficiently that really do keep a lot of money, or at least a good portion of our money, in tax-deferred accounts, like regular regular traditional IRAs and 401ks. And there are many different reasons why we do that. For instance, if you think that you might want to buy a lake home before you retire, I think that's a great idea. One of the ways to come up with money for that, if you have a 401k, you could actually take a loan against your 401k to come up with a down payment on that lake house. Okay. You cannot do that with an IRA or Roth IRA.
Okay.
So it's just interesting. So again, there are some things, and again, this is not to tell everyone, hey, you should go out there and get a loan against your 401k. Historically, that's not a great thing to do, but it does give you what? The word that Fidelity or that Vanguard was trying to come up with, which is flexibility. In retirement, we want flexibility. We want the opportunity to increase our income in good years, to maintain our income in down years, and to be tax efficient when it's opportunistic, right? Not every year is a great year to make tax changes. Some years, though, are fabulous at that, and we want to make sure we have flexibility. So as I look through the math, I think that most people, if you've never looked at the actual math on doing Roth conversions, call our team and try to find out if that makes sense for you, because I see a lot of people doing it on their own and the math does not work out for them. And it's a poor decision. And unfortunately, it's going to cost you a lot of money in the long run, and you won't have as much flexibility. So it's really important to make sure you do the math. Once you see the math, it typically will take 3 to 7 years. And this is just what we see in the office every day. 3 to 7 years to appropriately dismantle that tax time bomb to go into Roths. But I think that everyone needs flexibility, and we need money in all three buckets: taxable, tax deferred, and tax free in the end.
Reach out to Jon and his team, by the way. retirementsolutionshow.com is where you can do so. That was an interesting point that you made about the opportunity to have a mortgage loan, the down payment, borrowing from your 401k, because something I do feel that in our conversations, we say a lot of look for all the tax-free money that you can. How do you build up all this tax-free money? But to your point, there are some advantages to the pre-tax, the not yet tax money. Are there other areas that we should consider?
Oh, absolutely. So if you think about it, so the reason why I typically say, and mathematically it holds very true, there is, for most people, a specific amount of money for a married filing jointly couple, roughly 65. I'm just giving you kind of an example.
Sure.
There is kind of a magic number that we kind of want to keep in that tax deferred bucket, which is your traditional IRA or 401k. For most people, it's between $500,000 and $600,000. Why would that be the case?
Yeah.
Well, because when we're retired, we typically don't itemize as much. We typically have a standard deduction. And believe it or not, when we have those required minimum distributions that come out of that tax deferred account, the money that comes out is often eaten up by that standard deduction. So we're technically, that means that we get a tax break when we put the money into that 401k in the front end. And when we pull the money out, if it is offset by our standard deduction, then that means that we got to utilize the money at a much lower tax rate, or potentially even tax-free. That is amazing. That is truly gaming the system. Now, can everyone get to that? Not necessarily. If you have pensions, if you have so much money in your traditional IRA, like 4, 5, 6 million, it's always going to be so much for RMDs that you're really never going to be able to stay within that standard deduction. But there are all kinds of they're not even savvy. It's just using math correctly with the tax code. And understanding what you want to accomplish. There are ways right now that we can utilize the tax code to help with depreciation, to help offset expenses on rental properties and things like that. So there are so many reasons why we want to defer some taxes for some time, have some of it grow with no taxes ever in the future. And frankly, we still do want money in taxable accounts. Not all of it, not the majority of our money, but taxable accounts can be very efficient for wealth transfer, liquidity, coming up with short-term arrangements for loaning out for family members, for down payments on things. So there's really a reason, and it's usually mathematical in my mind, on why all three buckets, taxable, tax deferred, and tax free, all have a very good home in our portfolios. We just really want to do the math to find out what is best for you. How can you exploit your dreams better by having the right amounts in the right buckets? And that's why we have CPAs and tax attorneys on our team in-house for this exact reason, because it is a lot that goes into this, right? It is a lot of not just planning, but keeping up with the tax laws, keeping up with the estate planning laws, keeping up with all these things. And that's why we rely on those guys to help us out, because as things change, we just want to be opportunistic. It's the best thing we can do, is just to be flexible, to take advantage of things as they unfold.
All right. So we know that there are advantages to both pre-tax and after-tax dollars, and how we have allocated those to different retirement savings account. But you brought up the idea of Roth conversion. So let's talk about that. Somebody that has all of their money saved, not yet taxed, everything's in a 401k or an IRA. They have heard all the buzz about Roth conversions. They say, okay, here I come, 401k.com, roll over, convert. And they start converting dollars left and right. And then they come to you, and you have to look at them and go, well, here's where things went awry.
Again, it's never the wrong time to do the right thing. So even if someone's been doing a tremendous amount of conversions, hey, it's okay. Yeah. Just get a second opinion because usually when we do things, there's a lot of, again, there's no secrets to taxation. It's just what loopholes, and they're not even loopholes anymore. What rules are we using correctly in order to pay the least amount of taxes in one of two ways, Heather? This is the main thing. And so some people say, John, I want to pay the least amount of taxes this year. For the next 3 years while I'm working, I want to pay the least amount of taxes. Well, I'll tell you right now, you probably need to be putting money in tax deferred accounts, so we're not paying taxes on that. Now, other people say, well, hold on, John, I see what you're saying. But I really just like for the money I've saved, I want to pay the least amount of taxes total from now until the time I'm gone. If I could make certain that I paid the lowest amount, so instead of getting $800,000 out of me over the course of my lifetime, if I could only give the government $200,000 instead of $800,000, dude, I would be all in that. Well, believe it or not, everyone's situation is going to be different, but those are potentially doable. You can either pay the lowest amount this year, probably, or you can pay the lowest amount over the course of your life. Which one is going to be more advantageous for you? Which is why I always say it's really, really good to have CPAs and tax attorneys that have estate planning understanding with finance. It's really good to pull them out of their own silos and put them all together. You know, the new book that I have out now called The Money We Keep is really important because it's exactly about this. It's about how so many people have really good advisors or they're good on doing the money management on their own. And they have good CPAs, but they're not looking at taxes for retirement. Or they have really good estate planning attorneys, but they're really not talking together. And so there's so much money we lose in the gaps between those various silos. Because half the time I talk to someone who says, well, John, that's a tax question. I'm like, well, right, but your finance guy needs to know how that works. Or, John, that sounds like that's a legacy thing. That sounds like that's an attorney question. I'm like, correct, but it depends on how things are titled, which could easily be an individual or a finance thing, or it could be a tax thing. Very rarely do I find someone that says, oh, yes, I know how my income plan is going to work. I know how my distribution plan is going to work. I know how it's going to go to the next generation. And I know that this is the amount of tax savings I should be doing based on these conversions. Very few people have all that. Our clients have all of that. That's the point. We know where they work together. And again, it's not based on a cookie cutter approach. One size fits all, just, rinse, repeat, lather, rinse or was it apply, lather, rinse, and repeat?
Easy for you to say.
yeah. So instead of that, it's one of those things where we just want to find out what does that client want to accomplish? Yeah. What's the most efficient way to do it? But then not only is it the most efficient, we need them to be able to stick to it. It's sticking to it. It is the difference between having a well-orchestrated plan that fails and having a pretty good plan that they stick with so it's fabulous. Big difference.
John and his team here to help you figure out how to utilize all of these tax strategies with your savings for the road ahead. Visit us at retirementsolutionshow.com.
If you're young here tonight and you see an old person, I know you don't think that that's you in the future. You look at an old person, that's not you in the future. That's like looking at a sequoia tree or a unicorn. But it is going to be you one day before you know it. And if you're older and you look at a young person and you think, I still look like that. You don't. You don't. You don't.
There's so much truth to that.
If you're unfamiliar with the comedian Tom Papa, look him up. Because he is just right here in life with the rest of us, just spewing reality facts at us that many of us don't want to hear, but some of us just need to know. They get a little bit more of a reality dose more often.
Well, I mean, it's amazing. I remember talking, it was probably been about 15 years ago now. I remember talking to a client and he's like, John, here's the crazy thing.
Yeah.
Now that I've retired, I feel so much better. Like I got rid of all this cortisol. I'm working out in the mornings instead of, drinking, half a pot of coffee, and then not eating lunch and whatever. He goes, not only am I so healthy, I feel so good. He said, except every morning I get up and look in the mirror. I'm like, who is that old guy that's in my room? And it's like, oh, crud, that's me. He said, but I just feel so much better because I've done all of these other life changes that are very positive. He goes, I don't feel that old. He goes, and I don't remember exactly when it happened, when all of a sudden you replaced, this suave, debonair, good-looking George Clooney type figure with whatever that old man in the mirror is doing.
There's some things, no matter how good you take care of yourself, how well you take care of yourself. So for me, vulnerable moment, can I tell you?
I got to hear this.
All right, here we go. So I've always had amazing vision. Like everybody's like, how can you read that? And then middle age hit. And so a few years back, I had to start wearing readers. and fine. But my thing was, I'm going to get the weakest reader I can find, and I'm not going to go up in prescriptions because you do that, your eyes get weaker and weaker. So one day recently, I was trying to read something very small and I couldn't read it. And so what did I do? I took the other pair of weak readers and I did see what I'm doing here. And I stacked them on top. So I was, Kyle, my husband, walked into the room and he looks at me and he said, "Do you have 2 pairs of glasses on?" And I looked at him and I deadpanned his face and I said, "Yes, I do." And he just said, "Okay." And he just walked back out of the room because you know why? Because he's a smart man.
Yeah. Oh, very wise. Very wise. He's been married for a minute or 3. Yeah. But it happens. I remember I had an eye exam when I'm going to say a month after I turned 48. And the optometrist was amazed. He's like, 48, you don't require readers yet. And I'm like, I love it. Yeah. I promise you, Heather, it wasn't even 3 months later. 3 months later, I realized
overnight.
I couldn't read the date on my watch. I could not read the date on my watch. Every once in a while, I like to wear, one of the older mechanical watches, not one of the highfalutin, Apple watches. And I was looking down and I'm like, I can't read the date.
It happens overnight.
And I had grabbed a pair of readers because in the office we have readers up pretty much on everywhere for all the clients and frankly now for me.
Right.
So I make sure they're there
Welcome
now.
to the club,
but
pal.
I put it on and I'm like, oh my gosh,
there
this
it
is
is.
what people are talking about, that they don't do certain things because they can't see it. I mean, I remember handing stuff to people and they're like, yeah, I'm not going to bother reading it. Tell me what it says because I can't read it. I'm like, what are they talking about?
Now you know.
Months. I'm going to say in less than 3 months after I turned 48. And of course, now I've gone up to prescription. I mean, now I'm just looking at just replacing my eyeballs at this point.
You can just get new ones.
There's really nothing you can do.
Just get new ones.
Yeah.
It happens to all of us. The age just creeps in. It sneaks up. We can sit here and laugh about the readers or who's that person looking back at me in the mirror. With our finances, though, and we're not talking about you didn't save enough. That's not what we're here for. You folks that listen to you on HAS, they are smart. They have saved well. People that you meet in the office have $1 million, $5 million, $10 million saved, John. But when it comes to this thing that we have where we just constantly assume of ourselves that we are younger than we are, and we're even thinking about retirement, like that's ways off. We got years until that. We don't need to worry about that yet. We're saving, we're working, we're good. What are the mistakes of that mentality that could catch up with us later?
Well, the first thing to understand is no one is doing anything wrong. We are wired this way. You can go back to the dawn of human civilization, and we are wired to pay attention to what's right in front of us.
Okay.
And if you think about it, it makes total sense. Yeah. So if we were cavemen and we came out of the cave one day, and all of a sudden we see something that we can eat, it's right in front of our face. Are we going to go after that thing? Yes, we are. Now, are we thinking about the weather tomorrow? No, because if we don't catch that little animal and create dinner, we may not survive to the next day. So because of that, it's how we're wired. Every time that we walk, historically, the old cavemen and hunters and gatherers, when they would walk out and see berries that they knew were not poisonous, they would pick them all because they did not know when would be the next opportunity that they would get to actually find food based on that thing. So we are just predisposed to basically only focus on what's in front of us. And when we're talking about retirement, guys, it seems for so many of us like it's so far away. And think about it. Even something that's 3 years away. I mean, I can easily go 3 years. 3 years is a long. I mean, I got all kinds of time to take care of this within 3 years. Amazingly enough, people said that 10 years before retirement, 20 years before retirement, 30 years before retirement. They say that all the time. Yeah. And amazingly, they're like, dude, I thought I would have done this before now. But like I've said before on the show, and I've said it probably dozens, if not hundreds of times at this point, it's never the wrong time to do the right thing. So what we want to do is we just want to start looking. When we're thinking about the future, don't think about it as putting money away that you don't need to think about. What we need to do is plan correctly, because all of the predictions, this is what most people focus on. And Heather, I was thinking about it the other day. 24 hours news cycles are terrible. They're really horrible. They're horrible for us psychologically. They're horrible for us emotionally. They're just not good. It puts things in our head, in our face, that are not really good for long-term plans. Okay. And so that is one of the things that I really hate about headlines. Because the thing about headlines is they're always meant to elicit a response.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So like, they say, if it bleeds, it leads, which means that bad news, unfortunately, they always slap out there because they think people are going to pay attention to it. Whenever you see, look at this famous celebrity and look at what trouble they got in, it's clickbait. Click, 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 click. And all these things are just meant to derail us from doing the plan. But everyone focuses on predictions. And this is my point. They see a news headline like they're trying to predict. John, what do you think is going to happen? Can I tell you right now? None of it matters. Because 50% of the time, but probably worse than 50% of the time, we're going to get it wrong. I mean, there are some people that I know every time they make a prediction, it's dead wrong. If you did the exactly opposite of what they predicted, you're probably better off. Like the weatherman. It's just how it goes. I mean, like, it's amazing.
We love the weatherman.
No. We love them. But the thing of it is that when you think about it, it may be 50-50, when you're really thinking about all of it. But we want to make sure that we're focusing on the future side. So what happens when we procrastinate? Because that's really the word. When we start thinking about predictions, we get all verklempt, and we start getting worried about things, worried about what if I get this right? What if I get it wrong? A really good plan, the way to prepare for things is to make them work, even if markets go up, even if markets go down, even if tax rates go up, even if tax rates go down, even if interest rates go up or down, even if we can sell our house tomorrow for 3 times what we paid for it, or we never plan on selling at all. A well-designed retirement plan should work no matter what situations we deal with. So again, the preparation is so much more important than the prediction. And the problem with the future and thinking, that's so far away, it stops us from planning, which will frankly change everything in the future for us, right? If we don't have to worry, we can't lose all of our life savings because we've protected it correctly, we don't have to worry about market inconveniences. We already have the right amount of money in tax deferred and tax free, so we don't really have to worry about tax rates. If they go up, heck, even if tax rates double, if we've planned correctly, it may not cost us a single penny more in taxes. It's crazy. People don't think about that, but that is the danger of procrastinating too much. But again, we're wired to think about today. We're wired to worry about tomorrow, but a well-done plan kind of gets rid of a lot of the worry, because whether it's good or bad, tomorrow's news, it won't matter because we know it's going to work. Yeah. That's the main thing.
Well, that's the benefit of having a plan in place, is so that you can worry less, live more, enjoy this space that you've worked so hard to get to. And when you're in retirement, having a plan in place so you know where your income is coming from, so that you know what your long-term care plan is, so that you know what your tax strategy is and your estate and legacy plan is. Having this power of knowledge is what Jon and his team are here to help you figure out in a plan that's customized to you and your goals. So stop putting it off. We're talking to you, listening to us on WHAS right now at this very moment. Stop procrastinating, because we can all sit here and laugh about how overnight we needed readers, and overnight, who's that person staring back at us in the mirror? But you know right now that you want to retire one day, and you've got that nest egg you've worked so hard for.
We're having a really good plan. The thing is, sometimes we are not going out on our terms. We're not retiring the exact day we wanted. Yeah. Maybe we get a really good buyout to leave earlier. Well, that changes things. We just want to know that the plan can be adjusted. The thing about having a really good plan, Heather, is that it doesn't matter really what happens between now and the time you retire. It's there waiting for you to show up. Okay. That's the whole point. It's you and what you want to accomplish, and it's out there in the future, and it's just biding its time. It's just waiting for you to show up and say, "Hey, it's time, man." And the plan knows exactly what it needs to do for you to live the life you want. That's the main thing. So don't look at it as something so far in the future. We just want to figure out what day that we're going to show up and have that plan work.
Yeah, that's a great super healthy way to look at it, a super healthy perspective. It's there for you when you're ready. Let's begin the conversation helping you understand about your plan, your money, your future. It's retirementsolutionshow.com, or just click on the links we've got posted in the show notes.
Thanks for listening to the Retirement Solution Podcast with Jon Hicks. Begin the conversation about your savings plan with Jon and the team at J. Hagan Capital by visiting retirementsolutionradio.com. Be sure to listen to Jon's radio show, The Retirement Solution, Saturdays at 8 a.m. and Sundays at 9 a.m. on News Radio 840 WHAS.
J. Hagan Capital Incorporated is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if J. Hagan Capital Incorporated is licensed in your state, please call 502-690-5635. J. Hagan Capital Incorporated is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through J. Hagan Capital, LLC, NPN number 1882794.